Well, my group was the last group to relocate to Minneapolis. Well, we were supposed to relocate to Minneapolis. Halfway through the transition to Minneapolis, a new CEO came in and said, no, we're going to keep everything in Florida. So we had to move everybody back. So I actually stayed with the company. It was Alamo National. We called it ANC Rental Corporation. So I worked there for about 4.5, 5 years. Then I was recruited away by Spherion. Spherion is a staffing company, one of the largest companies. They've been acquired since I left the company. I was there for about 3 or 4 years, and then I got the phone call from a Microsoft recruiter. He called me, he talked about, hey, we saw you talking at a conference, you created a finance and accounting shared services for your organization, that's great, we want to recruit you to Microsoft. He kept going on and on and on for about 30 minutes. And typically, when you create a shared services organization, you put it in a lower cost area. So I said I should probably stop him and ask him what location, because Microsoft is in Redmond, Washington, that's Seattle, it rains all the time, but it's Microsoft and I can make that work, but it could be somewhere else. So I said, excuse me for a second, what's the location? He said, Fargo, North Dakota. I almost dropped the phone. I said, Fargo, North Dakota. He said, keep an open mind. I said, I'll keep an open mind. But the only thing I knew about Fargo was the movie. They put people in wood chippers. It's cold. I'm living in Florida. I'm on the 3rd floor. I have a palm tree outside my window. And I kept an open mind. He said, we're going to fly you up. We're going to take a look. They flew me up in the summertime. It was warm. Microsoft has a nice campus there. We're in Fargo because we acquired Great Plains back in the day, the business software for Microsoft. And so we're there. Great tour. About 8 people came from corporate to interview me. Everything went great. I knew I was going to get an offer. I got back to Florida. They made me a great offer. Compensation was great. Base pay, signing bonus, everything, stock on hire. Everything was great. I thought about it long and hard. I said, I can't do this to my family. I'm married. I have 3 kids. From Florida to Fargo? So I turned down Microsoft. Turned them down, kept working. They came back 6 months later and said, Michael, we've interviewed 17 people. You're the one. We want you. Would you please come back and we want to fly your family out? Because we don't think you took the job because your family didn't see Fargo. That's right. That had a little bit to do with it, but it was Fargo. So we flew back up for about 3 days. They wined and dined us, showed us around. They took us to the elementary schools, the high schools, talked about the education in the area. I had my kids in private school in Florida. They said you can put them in public school. It's just as good in North Dakota, and that is true. Got back to Florida. They made me another offer. They increased everything. I wasn't there. I still wasn't there. But my wife was. She was convinced. So what did she do? She backdoored me and she called my parents. She called my sister. She talked to my uncles and aunts and said, help me convince him to move to Fargo. So they wore me down and I moved to Fargo, North Dakota. And I stayed 3.5 years there, or 3 winters is the way you count it. I would do it all over again. It was a great group of people. I got a chance to hire the entire organization. I started with 0 employees, hired over 200 employees there. Very talented, educated group, and I never felt more comfortable in a location than Fargo. Good people. I go back at least once a year now. My son, when he graduated from college, he went back for 3 years and worked at Microsoft in Fargo, North Dakota. So don't be afraid to move. If they call you, go. Even if it's Fargo, North Dakota, you'll learn something. But I'll fast forward. I spent 3 years there. Then our current corporate controller called me and said, hey, we want you to move to internal audit. We think that'll be great for your career. We're going to move you to corporate. They called me, offered me the job. I said, I don't want to go. I want to stay in Fargo. Then he said, have you lost your mind? We couldn't get you to move from Florida to Fargo. Now we can't get you to move from Fargo to Seattle? I said, it's good living here, good people. And it took them about 6 months to convince me to move. I moved. I didn't want to go into internal audit because I just didn't like auditors. I've been audited all the time. You know how auditors are. They're looking at all your stuff and in your business, and they're matching up the numbers, tying out everything. Something's always wrong. Didn't like auditors, but I became one. Our CFO at the time said this would be great for your career. He was right. You get a chance to really learn the company. I learned how Microsoft goes to market, how we sell our products and services. You get to ask all the tough questions as an auditor. So it was really, really good for my career. I stayed in audit for 4.5 years. Then I got another phone call from our current CFO, Amy Hood. She said, Michael, the controller position for the Microsoft Cloud is open, and we want you to take that role. That's the fastest growing business at Microsoft, the Microsoft Cloud. I was like, that's it. I'm a finance person. I have an MBA with concentration in accounting. I'm the controller for Microsoft's fastest growing business. I did that for 2.5, 3 years. I thought that was it. That's it, that's my dream job. Another phone call came from our CFO. He said, Michael, I need you to go run corporate real estate. I said, really? And what did she say? How did she convince me? She said, Michael, first of all, I want a finance person. We're getting ready to go big, and we're going to modernize all of our campuses. I want a finance person. Number 2, I want somebody I can trust. And then she went back to a conversation we had about 12 years earlier. She asked me about my family, my parents, how I grew up. She grew up in Tennessee, I grew up in Alabama. We talked about my dad growing up in construction, and then the last thing she said was, your parents would be so proud of you. That's what she said, and I had to do it. I had to do it. So that's how I got into corporate real estate. I've been enrolled for about 3 years. So I know it's a long answer.
No,
but you asked.
I asked, it was a great answer. And so the question I have, in the position you have now, what's the best thing that you like about it?
I really like everything about my job. I get a chance to influence Microsoft and some of the decisions we're making. We are transitioning, or we're transforming the industry with our products and services from AI, artificial intelligence, to machine learning, you name it, IoT devices. I get a chance to just play and create a great experience for the Microsoft employees. So I like everything about my job. It's not just the physical. I talked about the 38 million square feet of space we have, but I also have influence over the digital. I actually have 5 engineers that have been embedded in my group for the next 3 years to create better experiences for the workplace. We want to own the experience. We want to own the day when it comes to our employees. Everything starts with the Microsoft employee. From the time they wake up in the morning, to their commute, to smart parking, to a smart elevator, to a smart conference room, smart dining. We want to own that experience and assist the employee throughout the day. I get a chance to do that at Microsoft. Well-funded, and just make it happen. These products will be available to the market at some point. So I like everything about my job.
Is there anything you don't like about it?
I really can't think of anything I don't like. I mean, we have challenges and we don't agree on everything all the time, but that's just a part of life. Really enjoy my life. I would say I'm in my dream job.
Yeah. So that's the real estate side, but as if you were bored and didn't have enough to do, you now run security as well.
That is correct. About 18 months ago, after the head of security for Microsoft retired after 16 years, he was an ex-CIA guy, and Amy came to me again and said, you know, I'm just not going to replace it. I'm just going to give you security. Okay, Amy. And that is huge. I have about 1,000 resources in security at Microsoft. We're in 113 different countries, very complex. Something's happening in the world all the time. This is executive protection. This is physical security. This is investigations. This is intelligence. We have an intelligence group at Microsoft. So super complex. I tell everybody, my job at Microsoft is the craziest, busiest, most complex, most random job I've ever had. But I love going to work every day. It's super busy. I average about 400 emails a day.
Wow.
And they're coming from all over the place. But I must say, I have a great team, great team. From my chief of staff to the communications team, to the real estate, security, great organization. I don't do it by myself. It's about the team. They help us become successful.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I want to talk about a little bit about the, I guess the 900-pound gorilla in the room when it comes to diversity.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised at the lack of diversity in the industry, or what's your take on just what you've seen as it relates to commercial real estate and diversity?
Not surprised at the lack of diversity in the industry as a whole. I'm really surprised at the diversity in this room.
Everybody give yourselves a hand.
I talk to a lot of commercial real estate organizations every year. I've never seen a more diverse organization than this one. So you guys are doing something that everybody else needs to do. Let's start with Microsoft. We have our own challenges around diversity. And we define diversity as women, African Americans, and Latino. Those are the underrepresented minorities at Microsoft. If you look at the numbers, women, we're about 22, 23% female at Microsoft. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And we're gonna do better there. If you look at Latinos at Microsoft, about 6% at Microsoft. We're 140,000 employees at Microsoft, 6%. When it comes to leadership, Latinos in leadership, that number drops to about 4.1%. And leadership is director and above at Microsoft. African Americans, we're about 4.2, 4.3. In the whole company, 140,000 employees. When it comes to leadership, it goes to about 2.2, director and above at Microsoft. Not acceptable. And we are doing things. We're pushing hard, and we're hiring. But the challenge is we hire, and then you lose. It's about retention. We can hire anybody at Microsoft, but can we keep them? And I would say that for the industry, we need to be more deliberate about hiring African Americans, Latinos, and more females in the organization. But the key is to keep them, to retain them. I hear this all the time. Diversity is being invited to the dance. You're in the room, you're in the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance. But it actually goes further than that. What type of dance is it?
Right.
Is it ballroom dancing? Are we doing the waltz?
Right.
Are we doing, or I would say, T. Dallas here, are you doing the wobble?
That's what
Are you doing the electric slide? That's the key.
you old as hell.
I'm
Just saying.
So we don't know how to fit in. What dance is it? How do you feel included, a part of the organization? We have a seat at the table, but are you really included? So there is work to do. I was at, about a year ago, I was at an organization, I won't name them, one of the biggest commercial real estate companies in the world. They asked me to come speak to their top 100 leaders in their organization. I hit the stage. I didn't see anybody in there that looked like me. And that's the first thing I addressed and talked about. And they're pushing it. And everybody's trying to do the right thing. But it takes a lot of work. Looks like you guys are figuring it out here in Atlanta.
Well, we do firmly believe that the answer is going to come from Atlanta.
Okay.
I don't say that just privately. I really believe it. This is the home of Dr. King. This is also the city that when Dr. King was assassinated, there was no riot here in this city.
Right.
And one of the things that happened was, even because these are tough conversations, the leaders did have conversations. And that's something that we're doing here at the Atlanta Commercial Board. We started just 2 years ago, CRE Race Awareness Training. So we do a 2-day, all day Friday, all day Saturday. It's a very tough thing. Who's in the room who's been through it? It's a real deal. From one of my white people. This was not part of the show, but just literally, I make Michael hear this because part of the issue is with a man with this big of a platform, I think what we're doing will impact the industry. And so I'm going to pick my, I almost said token, but I'm going to pick my, Kirk, he will be chair of this diversity committee next year. Just in a 2-minute, give your take on what we're talking about this particular.
Yeah, so incredibly powerful program that, again, our initiative is to pick the people in the room and the people beyond the room that are influencing what we do in our industry, who hires, who directs, who manages. It's a 2-day program that I did in Leadership Atlanta first in 2011 and had the honor to do it again 3 weeks ago. But it's a 2-day, very intensive course. It's led by one of the most brilliant guys ever. He lives in Atlanta, but he does it nationally, probably globally now.
Yeah.
But you go through a program where the tables get turned in a really brilliant way. And I can't tell a lot about it because I hope that you, other folks in the room, a lot of you guys and gals will be able to do this at some point. But it is insanely powerful, and it really does change the way you think, the way you feel, the way you empathize with everybody else in the room.
Everybody give him a hand.
We can all learn, everybody as an individual, we have a responsibility when it comes to diversity.
No question. So I'm trying to do this without my glasses. Yeah. So yeah, I am old. Thank you, Seth. So I do want to talk about just briefly how we met. So we go to Cornet every year, and one of the things about Cornet, it's usually about 3,000 corporate leaders of real estate there and brokers. And of the 3,000, we usually do an over/under about how many black people are going to be there. And it's, we usually keep the over/under around 12. It's about right. So it's, we're talking 12 people out of 3,000. And we make it a point to go there every year. And I typically do something very simple. I look at who's speaking. I see if there's a black person. I make sure I sit in the room and go see what they're talking about. I was coming to see him, but before I could get to see him, he bumped into Cedric. And they started talking. Cedric called me, and then I run into this guy. And he whispers, "I'm glad to see some black people." So immediately, he was just the real dude, you know what I mean? And this is what I would encourage people to be intentional about relationships and be your authentic self. The one thing nobody can do is be you. So we've been trained in our business school so often to be this type of way, and the person never gets to meet the real person. But I tell you, you only get 2 opportunities when they meet the real person. They're either gonna like you or they're not. And if they don't, go on to the next. So, but before we get to the next thing, there are some things you want to show us, some buildings, some projects that you're currently working on that we'd like to see. And we have help. And it's the left side that moves forward, not the right.
You'll be able to click to that first slide and then start it. Yep. Click, well, you didn't click on the first slide, I don't think. Okay, that's good. That's good. So as I said before, we're operating in 113 different countries, 38 million square feet of space, and we're going to modernize our entire portfolio. That's in all regions. We're organized by region. We have Puget Sound, or our corporate headquarters is considered a region. Our corporate headquarters is about 15 million square feet itself. We are sitting on 536 acres at Microsoft corporate office. We have over 130 buildings. We're managing a city. We have our own transportation system, own dining, maintenance, you name it. We have about 60,000 employees coming to work each day on our corporate campus. We are bigger than the city that we're in. The city of Redmond has 38,000 people living there. We have 60,000 coming to our campus. So super complex. We have the Americas, which is Canada, the US, and Latin America. Atlanta lands in our Americas, and this is a great place to be. We may consider growing here. How about that? The talent is here, the universities you have here, diversity is here, and we're seriously looking at Atlanta and all up and down the East Coast. What I want to show you first is a video. It's our digital transformation. It's how we're using Microsoft's products and services to help transform the industry. One of our key principles is lead with the employee experience. Number 2, transform as a whole. That's all of our properties. Digital in our DNA is another. Insights to action. We have smart buildings at Microsoft. We're getting lots of information from those buildings. We're constantly talking to our employees. What are you going to do? Insights to action, and stay ahead of the digital curve. We're Microsoft. We're a technology company. We're a devices company. We're a cloud company. So we take the physical and the digital together to make a great experience. Everything you're going to see on this video exists today. It's not widely accepted. You're going to see facial recognition, not widely accepted yet, but we're thinking in the next 3 to 4 years it will be.
Can we dim the lights?
Do you ever wonder what the future holds? No, not flying cars and stuff like that. What I'm talking about is the one that's right around the corner, the one that helps improve our lives every day. Thankfully, Microsoft is in the middle of creating a new digitally powered experience for your workplace, your environment.
What does this mean? It means using our technology to help us work smartly, be productive, be efficient. And it's all because the environment is intelligent, really intelligent.
How do we know all this? Because we're coming to you from this very real future. Come on, let me take you through my day. My morning begins like a lot of other people, in the car, except now, it's different.
Your meeting has moved to Building 201. Turn right in 1,000 feet to enter the parking lot closer to your location.
Oh, my meeting changed buildings this morning. This technology is like a personal assistant, helping me through the day. I'm so glad I opted in. And it even knows that I carpool with my bestie, Kyle. He lives right down the street from me. The technology integrates all the different parts of my day. And as it learns more about me, it makes recommendations so that everything goes smoothly. What I love about these new buildings is they really know me. Let's face it, I'm always on the go running from one thing to the next. And I prefer to get my workout done in a gym, not running from building to building. Know what I mean?
I gotta go. I'll meet you for lunch.
See you later. The system provides me with personalized updates every day. Like today, I have a gazillion customer meetings, so I received a recommendation to sit in one of these phone rooms. That way, I can collaborate and take my meetings in a private space.
Oh, hey, I need to talk to you about our new project.
Sure, let's see what's available.
You have time now?
Here's an open room. Let's take it. The result, time saved, which means I can squeeze in that workout later. But first, gotta catch up on our project. And then, big meeting with my manager and colleagues. Gotta go. Oh, look, a light bulb is out. Major bummer, right? But I'm not worried. The building is already on it and has notified the facilities team. Technicians are dispatched automatically with a prioritized list of help tickets. Oh, and the room has already adjusted the temperature, connected us to our meeting, and is ready to go in real time as we walk through our agenda. It's totally liberating and gives me time to focus on what's important because the small stuff is already done. I'll catch up with you later. Remember when you actually had to wait in line to order your lunch? Yeah, me too. Now, the building suggests when to order food based on my schedule.
Here you go. Have a good day.
I can even find out the nutritional value of anything on the menu because it's all right here. What I really want to know is, do they have my favorite food? Hey, Kyle. Gone are the days of surviving on stale crackers at my desk. All but a distant memory. This building works for me. I'll tell you what though, I had another great day. It's amazing to see how digital is transforming our environment to make me more productive. Look at that. If I leave work in 30 minutes, traffic times are green, which gives me time to hit the gym and squeeze in that workout before I head home today. And one of my favorite things, the technology reminds me where we parked. There's a lot to look forward to. Are you ready? We are.
So that's a lot of fun things I get to work on at work. I'm going to show you a couple pictures of some of the new offices we just opened or we're about to open. We have activity happening across our entire portfolio. We talked about our Redmond expansion. We're going to build, or we're in the process of building 17 new buildings on our campus. They will be state-of-the-art, they will be smart buildings. We will have a complete smart campus because we're going to renovate the rest of the buildings on our campus as well. We're also in the process of redeveloping our Silicon Valley campus. We tore it down a year ago and it will be opening in the fall of next year. I just came back from Sao Paulo, Brazil for a grand opening for the office there. About 3 weeks ago I was there to cut the ribbon and open a new office there. Israel, we're building a new campus. That's a great consolidation story for us. We're bringing our sales organization and our engineering organization together onto one campus. And that opens end of next year as well. Hyderabad, which is our second largest campus, is 72 acres. We're building a 4th building and we're designing the 5th building. We have about 14,000 employees in India today. Bangalore, last June, we opened a new campus there. One consolidated building. It is the largest building in our portfolio. The building itself holds 4,200 employees. And we just opened 2 weeks ago the Singapore campus there. And I'll be there next month to look at that building. This is sort of a snapshot of some of the renovated buildings in our campus. We are transitioning to more of a team-based space approach at Microsoft. For the last 35 plus years, everybody had an individual office at the corporate office. We're moving to a team-based space approach now, not open space. You hear about open space where it's a large open area where you have a sea of queues. That's not what we're doing. The sweet spot at Microsoft is 8 to 12 employees in their own space, with their own focus room, with their own conference room, with their own phone room, with their own concentration zone. Because we did a study, and the average Microsoft employee spends 40 minutes a week, 40 minutes of their time trying to book a conference room. Wow. So what do? We take the conference room to the team. And so they have their own conference room, so we're that much more productive. Just taking insights to action. We take the data and we do something about it at Microsoft. You'll see some of the open space and some of the team space there. This is our Bangalore office, as I said before, the largest building in our portfolio, 4,200 employees there. We have our own design language at Microsoft. You'll know you're in a Microsoft building, the look and the feel of that building, but we leave about 20% of that to that country, that region, that culture. So that building fits in India, or the building fits in China, or Singapore, or the US. So 80% Microsoft design language, 20% for that region and for that culture. This is our Sao Paulo office we opened. Very similar. Singapore just opened. Silicon Valley campus, this will be a great sustainability story for us. We're going to be collecting rainwater and reusing it. We're doing dual piping in this particular campus. It's a Microsoft-owned campus. 50% of our portfolio is owned and 50% leased. You're typically not going to see that. Most companies our size in our industry, they're mostly leased, but we're 50-50 at Microsoft. And then that's virtually that is Israel. That's the new campus in Israel where we consolidate our sales, marketing, and our engineering organization. The 4th building in the Hyderabad campus, opening in 2021. And this is a rendering of the 17 new buildings we're building on our corporate campus. We tore down the original 12 Microsoft buildings that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates built back in the day. We tore those buildings down, and it's going to be replaced with these 17 buildings here. They just were not upgradable. We needed a more flexible building, and that's what we're building today. And that's a rendering of the plaza and our customer experience center. We're going to have a 2-acre plaza that employees can enjoy. We're going to have shops and restaurants open to the public and open to the employees along our main street that we're building. So at the end of the day, this campus will be the 536 acres, and we will have over 135 buildings on the campus. I think that's it.
Awesome. Give them a hand. We've got 10 minutes to 1. We're going to throw it to the audience and take questions. You have questions for Mr. Ford?
Got a microphone.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Kate Johnson. I just graduated from Georgia State University with my master's in commercial real estate. 2 questions for you. The first is, you mentioned with the Silicon Valley project that you have going on, it's good sustainability that you're incorporating in that building. Is that something that you're doing across the entire, across the entire portfolio with your own properties? And what other initiatives are you using to create a more sustainable work environment? The second question is, what is the #1 challenge that you see for diversity? You talked about kind of the different steps in that, but what's the biggest challenge? Because we have committees, we have directors, we have all these people who are focused on that, but we still see this kind of issue and this lag of an increase in diversity.
Okay, those are 2 good questions. Sustainability, that's one of the major pillars at Microsoft. I highlighted the Silicon Valley campus, but we're doing it across all of our campuses from a sustainability standpoint. The campus, our corporate campus today, we're a zero waste campus. That means we're diverting 90% of the waste generated by our campus away from a landfill. We're also power the entire campus as of April 1st of this year by hydro energy. All hydro for our corporate campus. We're doing similar things in India, across our entire portfolio when it comes to sustainability. For everything, the buildings we tore down, we're recycling 100%. Even the concrete is being recycled and reused in our new campus. The trees that we had to take down, the large trees, they're sitting in a mill today because they're going to be furniture, they're going to be chairs that we're going to use. And we're planting 1-to-1 trees to replace, and then the heritage and the landmark trees will replace 3-to-1. From a diversity standpoint, I mean, it's a lot we need to do. And we're focusing around retention at Microsoft because we're hiring diverse employees all over our company, but the challenge is keeping them, making sure they feel at home. We have a lot of affinity groups. We have Blacks at Microsoft. We have FAME, that's Finance African Americans. We have FinLab, which is Finance and Latinos. All those organizations at Microsoft are being funded. We give each organization dollars, major dollars every year to host family events. We want the family to feel included also. A lot of times companies, they focus on the employee and they forget the family. So those are some of the things that we're doing so people will stay at Microsoft.
Good afternoon, Lindsay Brereton with Philadelphia. I specialize in healthcare professional estate, so I am salivating at all of the development that you have going on. My curiosity and my question is the Microsoft technology being utilized in any of the developments with respect to like hospitals and Microsoft facilities, not just on the real estate side, but with the security side?
Yeah, all of that. We're doing all of that, all of our products and services. We have areas within the Microsoft Cloud that are focused on health and wellness, hospitals. you name it. A lot of the smart building technology is being used in hospitals also, and that's an offering at Microsoft.
Maybe we want to talk about the actual health care that you have on campus.
Yeah, we actually have an office, a doctor's office on our campus. It's actually in my building, building 21 at Microsoft. So we have a pharmacy. My primary doctor is on our campus, downstairs. So I have no excuse. I have no excuse to get my annual physical every year or my flu shot. All I have to do is walk downstairs and get that done. We're going to expand that across the campus. We have medical, we're going to add dental, we have eye care on campus, we have a beauty salon on campus if you want to get your hair done. That's on campus as well. We have so many different amenities across our campus. We have 32 cafeterias, we have 12 restaurants, we have 12 at markets, and that's a self-service market. We want everybody to feel comfortable at Microsoft. You spend the majority of your time at work, not home. And my initial conversation with our CEO when I took this job is that we want you, Michael, to help transform the workplace at Microsoft and transform the culture. And so we're adding all those amenities to our campus for that reason.
Any more questions? Steve Deals, past president.
So you obviously have done very well in your career. You've been promoted a number of times, recruited a number of times. That didn't happen by accident. So how did you plan your career? How did you execute your jobs you were doing that would relate to us to help us get better as we go further in our careers?
Well, I can't say it was well planned, but I had two great role models to watch. My dad started his own business over 50 years ago, so I grew up watching him build that business and grow that business, and my mom worked in the business. I worked hands-on in the business. At the same time, she taught me the finance and accounting of the business, so I watched them, so I had no choice but to get it right. Yeah, and I go back to our family motto: faith, family, education, plus hard work equals a good life. And so I made sure that I checked off of all of those, and I always stayed in touch, built relationships, kept those relationships. Things sort of just happened for me.
Thank you for being here. You mentioned that 80% of the buildings are sort of the Microsoft feel and design, and then 20% are customized for each particular region. What are some examples of local flavor that you're infusing?
Well, I would say if you go to one of our India offices or Sao Paulo, Brazil, color. The carpets, the walls, very different than you would see here. You see white walls here. You're going to see a lot more color in some of those buildings. But in the design itself, a conference room may be slightly different, larger or smaller depending on the region. The entrance in the building could be slightly different also. One other thing that we're doing and we're really serious about is accessibility on all of our campuses. Whether you're in a wheelchair, you're blind, whatever your disability is, you can move around or navigate a Microsoft campus. If you go to any of our campuses, come to our corporate campus, you'll see tactile strips leading you to the front door if you're blind. If you go to one of our kitchenettes, we have a kitchenette on every floor in every building at Microsoft. This is known by everybody. We have free sodas, free milk, free juices at Microsoft from the beginning of the company. We have Braille. You'll know, if you want a Diet Coke, you'll know how to select a Diet Coke. If you go to our reception area, we've lowered the counter for a wheelchair can come roll up to it. Or our supply room or the bathroom. We're being very serious about accessibility at Microsoft. Every building we have is ADA, but we've taken it to another level at Microsoft. We've created our own standard. There's an A, B, and C. We're trying to get all of our buildings to an A globally. So it's a lot of different things that we're doing.